Hello all, it is Hadex Gaming. Over the past few years, I have set speedruns, completed brutal mode playthroughs, and set restrictions on how to play with class-specific builds, or stuck to a specific biome, but today I am here with episode 1 of what will be my Forever World. I've never done something like this, and this will be a big project, so whilst I set up my character and get started, let me explain what a Forever World is. With every new playthrough, I have made a new character and a new world. Well, today, this one character and this one world will be added to over the course of the next 12 months. This will be my world I work on and play for the entire year, which means this will be a 12-part series, so be sure to like and subscribe and stick around if you want to see more. Now, to make it interesting, I have set myself some goals that aren't set in stone, but just a few things I'd like to achieve by the end of the year. So for some major goals, and in no particular order, we have number 1, find an island to call home, with one of each biome surrounding it, meaning there would be a forest, snow, swamp, and desert biome, and then anything else that is nearby is just a bonus. Number 2, I want to automate my home. This means automating my storage, cooking, crafting, husbandry, forestry, fishing, farming, and absolutely everything. That way I don't have to do anything and my settlers will be able to provide for themselves. Number 3, I want to hire at least one of each settler to one settlement, and that will be my main settlement. Number 4, defeat every boss, including those from the incursions, including up to tier 5. Number 5, obtain all 7 trinket slots, obtain all 4 armor sets, and create a maxed out set for summon, range, mage, and the melee class that can take on the endgame. And then finally, number 6, I want to complete the adventurer's journal and fill it out completely. That means completing the challenges, defeating all the enemies, and obtaining all the loot that can be found within each biome entry. For some miscellaneous goals, I want to create something with wires. Wires are something in my 1,000+ hours of Necesse that I've never used. I then want to set up a farm of each animal that can be leashed. So that means cows, pigs, penguins, anything you can think of that can be leashed. I also want to have one of each crop planted for each seed. And I also want to acquire a broomstick. As of now, the broomstick is arguably one of the best mounts in the game, and it is easily the best early game mount. I also want to ensure that by the end of the year, that all my housing is decorated adequately. You'll probably come to find out that my creativity could use some inspiration, and this will really help me with that. And then finally, my final goal of the year is to have 4 full settlements across each major biome. Now, of course, between now and then, I'll probably set myself some new tasks, and if I do get all of that completed, there is one super bonus goal I'd like to do, and that is to create one underground settlement or village. Now, settlers can't currently go underground. That doesn't stop me from decorating it. And with my Forever World explanation out of the way, let's jump in. So starting off, I started off by looting the Elder's house and set sail to find an island to call home with connected biomes. On the way, I found an angler, and without any regret, remorse, or sympathy, I stole his bed and his spare fishing rod and kept going. As I traveled through the day and into the night, I found refuge in a hunter's brick cabin, helped myself to his fire, and slept in his bed. Upon waking, I checked the map and found that this forest island was connected to a desert, a swamp, and a snow biome. And then on the perimeters of those, there was a dungeon, a pirate island, and a few towns. This is huge, and I wanted to mention this now just quickly, but as the game updates, the islands you have visited won't generate new structures. So to avoid having to venture large distances to find new structures in future updates, I would try avoid going to those islands. I didn't have to. That way, when an update comes out, I could just explore a neighboring island. Anyways, as I went to snoop around the island, I found the hunter sitting on a tree stump. And if that's not the cutest moment, then I don't know what is. It also brings back some nostalgic memories from getting the ocarina in a Zelda: A Link to the Past. Next up, I find a nice cozy spot to drop my settlement flag and start my forever home. This now means I can hire settlers, and what better way than asking the hunter who let me crash moments ago. He wanted some coins and some wool. I didn't have either, but I needed to gather just a bit more wool. So I hunted down some sheep, went back, and was a measly 6 coins short. I found a bit of extra gold and hired my first settler. During the night, I got to work on creating another room, so that way the elder could have a house as well. As it was nighttime, I figured I'd head into the caves. Upon entering, I was delighted to see the sapphire mini biome, but unfortunately it had no big clusters. At the time of recording, the smaller crystals didn't give any gems. All was not lost though, as I found myself some treasure and stumbled upon another sapphire biome and snagged myself a few gems. Once I was done, I returned to the surface and obtained my first quest from the Elder. It was to defeat the evil's protector, summoned by a mysterious portal. Before I fought it, I returned to the caves to explore, grab some ore and gear up. However, during my expedition, an angler arrived. This to me is single-handedly the best NPC you can get. The angler will solve all my food problems for the settlement whilst I'm out exploring. So I checked his hiring rate and realized I couldn't afford him yet. And so I plundered the caves and stumbled upon a sneaky caveling. I had to defeat one for the adventurer's journal, and as I chased it down, it led me to an absolute onslaught and ambush that ended up with me swimming in lava and dying to fire damage. However, all was not lost, as I still made enough gold to hire my angler. That same night, I summoned the evil's protector, completing another adventure journal checkmark and attempted the fight. It was going great until the sunlight came up and caused it to vanish into the darkness. And as I still had some challenges left for the forest, I had to kill 25 zombies and capture a cow using a rope. Just some tasks that I had to remember for later. As it hit nighttime, I summoned the evil's protector back for a rematch. And without too much difficulty, took it down. It dropped a demon cloak, allowing me to get my second armor set slot, a dash trinket, the force of wind, and a demon heart, increasing my HP from 100 to 200, and some extra other goodies. Swiftly after the fight, I told the Elder that I had dealt with it and was rewarded a lunchbox, allowing me to carry extra food items within one slot of my backpack. I used some of the demonic bars to upgrade my workstation to a demonic workstation, and started on building a proper house for my angler over by the water so he can fish when he wants to. By the time I finished, it was becoming nighttime, and I decided to defeat some extra evil's protectors to obtain a few more class trinkets and demonic bars. These fights went by much faster as I had crafted a demonic sword to assist during the fight. With the bosses defeated, I decided it was time to start my storage system. So I set out on building a kind of centralized room with some chests I would later automate. And as you can see, my structures mostly consist of squares, but I'm sure as this series continues and I can dedicate extra time to things, my creativity may change. Anyways, I automate a few of them for sorting and create 2 dump chests, so my settlers and future settlers will sort it for me, meaning I can continue to explore and don't have to organize it with each return. This is great for 2 reasons, because 1, if I had to do it, it would take forever, and 2, if I had to do it, I probably just wouldn't do it. With my storage kind of organized, I grab my next quest from the Elder, but head back down to the caves as I wasn't quite finished here yet. In my adventures, I stumbled upon a miner who requires some coins, iron and gold ore, which I didn't have, although right around the corner was an iron vein, and upon obtaining it, I hired Bobby the miner to my forever home. And stumbled across a chest with a light belt trinket, which will help when exploring the dark. So I cleaned out some more of my forest and reorganized my workstations to utilize my storage space. I also decided if I was to take on more bosses in areas, I would need some better armor. I used some of my demonic bars to upgrade my tools and set off to the Void dungeon to find some Void shards to create some demonic armor. After scouring literally the entire island, I found the dungeon in the middle of the island. And even though it had become nighttime, that didn't stop me from killing the Void wizards and entering the Void dungeon. My goal was to get about 2 Void shards so that I could craft some demonic armor, as I didn't want to spend too much time in here. After obtaining some, I created a demonic chest piece and some boots, and went on to fight the Evil's Protector to get more demonic bars. During my fight, I completed the kill 25 zombies task, and then decided to fight 2 Evil's Protectors at once to ensure that I got it done during the night. After defeating them, I decided to combine my 4 class foci items into a balanced foci so that I could play a hybrid. After all, this was a forever world, so why not chop, change and play with a little bit of everything? And I also crafted a set of Zephyr boots for faster sprinting. Continuing on with the growth of myself and the settlement, I had set up a dedicated small forestry zone by planting some saplings and assigning the zone. But then I did something a little cheeky. I set a huge zone to chop all the trees down and made sure they didn't plant any. That way, if I wanted to expand, I wouldn't have to worry about trees being in the way. I then finished my little elder's house and began construction on additional housing, and then reassigned some work priorities. During one of the following days, the traveling merchant arrived, and I took the time to purchase a potion pouch. This is particularly useful as it can hold so many potions that would otherwise clog my inventory. So for just over 1,000 coins, I'd say it was a bargain. Completing yet another challenge, I created a pen and caught myself a cow. However, I knew I'd want more, so I went a step further and caught a bull to put in the pen together. With that out of the way, the forest service had now been completed. And what better way to use the frog reward costume than decorating the elder with a new cosmetic set? With the majority of the forest done, I head out to my nearest snow biome, clear out some space and make a ladder down to the frozen caves. Dropping down into a spider nest, I instantly try and skedaddle my way out of there, and whilst doing so, come across the coziest little structure. It's just a bench in a crystal cove with a music player, but it is so simple and yet so peaceful. Whoops, sorry, where was I? Yet simple and peaceful. But all good things must come to an end, and I took the portable player with me to my base, plonked it down and dumped the first bunch of vinyls I found into it. Now if you're watching this, the music you hear may be added, or it may have left the chaos that was the portable music player in. So if you're hearing boss music, just know it's a vinyl and not my poor choice of ill-timed music. Once I finished up sorting the vinyls, I headed to my flag and recruited Henry the villager, and assigned him some roles of hauling items. So instead of going to the snow biome, my ADHD brain decided to go find the broomstick in the swamp, and as I arrived, I found one of the coziest cottagecore farmhouse generations I've ever seen within Necesse, with a lovely farmer and wife who resided there. I also found Tess, the friendly witch, who was selling some potions, and she would yet sell me the broomstick until I defeated the 3 witches in the swamp biome. One may argue the 3 Fate sisters. So I headed down, and my goal was to find them, defeat them, and buy me a Nimbus 3000 broomstick. My goal wasn't to obtain tons of ivy and to skip the other biomes, but I feel like I spent hours here, scouring top to bottom for this witch hideout. In the process, I completed some adventurer journal challenges. However, in the end, my backpack got very full and I teleported back home to dump it out. Whilst doing that, a guard visited the island and I swiftly hired him to help around the forever home. I ventured back into the swamp caverns and with no such luck again, except this time I returned and crafted myself an ivy bow and full ivy armor. I yet again returned one more time to the swamp and decided to check the middle this time. Maybe it was similar to the Void dungeon and just hiding around the middle. And to my luck, I found the witch's hideout. The 3 of them nearly killed me, and I had to let my stabby bushes do the work as I kited them around and hid. After looting their treasure, I headed out, equipped the witch outfit for funsies, and tried to find Tess the friendly witch again. I scoured most of the swamp island and ended up finding her house on a small island off of the main one. I waited until nighttime for her to return home and purchased myself the broom. I also bought a necrotic bow to test that summons small zombies on hit and have acquired the best mount in the game. This mount allows you, when you're on the surface, to fly over trees and buildings, making it super useful. With my own little side quest done, I headed home to a farmer who wanted to join me. Couldn't say no to that, and now I had a total of 7 of the 16 unique settlers in my town, with only one boss even defeated out of the total 17 bosses in the game. With some spare time, I created another pen for some future sheep and rounded 2 of them up to start my farming. I decided to speed up my progression a little bit and headed to the snow caves. I cleaned out an area and broke the spider egg. This lured over the queen spider boss, and I was in ivy armor, so a little bit more prepared for what I needed for the fight, but it was still engaging and I just had to dodge her dashes, poison pools, baby spiders, and make use of her stationary time to deal significant damage. After the win, I returned home and saw that I had to complete 2 more challenges for the Adventurer's Journal. I had to create a full set of frost armor and impale 1 enemy 5 times with ice javelins. Whilst home, I also took the time to complete my quest with the Elder for an ammo pouch, which, you guessed it, holds my ammo, and obtained a new quest to defeat the Void Wizard. I, however, wanted to complete my Adventurer's Journal before continuing. So I went back to the ice caverns, and what better enemy to stick 5 pointy cold javelins into than another spider queen. I then returned with some more frost shards, completed the set, and completed the final challenge for Frost Caves. As I was flicking through the journal, I saw I still needed to defeat a bear in the forest caves to complete my forest cave journal entry, and then all 3 of the snow biome missions. So I took to the forest caves, and as I was exploring, I decided to flick 2 switches without even thinking, and to my surprise, blew open a bear den. The fight was pretty easy. I just had to kite it around and let my minions do the work, and it even dropped the cutest little bear cub pet. It really made my witch outfit look like I was a druid of sorts, and I completed my challenge, getting me the construction hammer that lets me build faster. This is one of the few items that affects building rather than battling. Next up, it was to complete the snow surface challenge. So I flew out to the snow, caught myself an ice fish, dug up a ton of snowballs, and massacred an entire island of penguins, hoping for the wet icicle drop. I ended up giving up with the penguins and scouting my 3 settlement villages nearby to find myself an animal keeper. The first had no animal keeper, the second also had no animal keeper, and just as I was leaving the third, in the dark, sitting alone on a log, an animal keeper was there, and he did indeed sell me the wet icicle to close out my snow challenges. I even asked him to join my settlement, but he wasn't impressed and was a little stubborn. I was awarded the Banner of Peace, which is a little on the nose considering I drove the penguins to extinction and then checked what I needed for the Void missions. I had to save the wizard, upgrade my alchemy station, and find the Void Wizard's chambers, so off I went and started exploring the chambers. On the map, I spotted a small glow and knew that was where the Void Wizard chambers are and started to make my way there. I decided to swap from the bow to magic and embrace the witch feeling that I had, and stumbled across the trapped wizard NPC. He graciously accepted my help and joined my settlement, completing one of the 3 void challenges. Right around the corner, I entered the staircase and found the Void Wizard's chamber, setting me one step closer to my goal. I also thought, whilst here, let's fight the boss. What's the harm, right? And to start, I threw some stabby bushes underneath it for some quick, easy damage, and then just ran around bobbing and weaving between the candles. Myself and the wizard had similar attacks. Both of us used projectile magic that could bounce around the room. However, mine was just a little bit better and I won. He dropped some void shards, a walking torch pet, and most importantly, a wizard's sock. This gave me my 5th out of 7 total trinket slots. I returned home, handed in my quest, and got a void bag, which you guessed it, holds all of my void. No, I'm just kidding. It holds a handful of extra items and effectively acts as a backpack expansion. I also chose not to get my new quest as I didn't want it on the screen, and I thought it would still register a boss kill, but this would later come back to bite me. I grabbed some glass, crafted some glass bottles, and upgraded my alchemy station, completing all of my void missions and obtaining the chicken costume, which by the way, looks ridiculous. I was slowly chipping away at the challenges and noticed to complete the swamp surface I'd need to cook a frog's leg, as I had already completed the other 2 challenges during my witch hunt expedition. So I set out, killed a frog, grabbed its leg and cooked it, completing the swamp surface challenges and obtaining the item attractor. But I wasted no time and set out to complete the swamp cave diaries. I needed to harvest a ton of thorns, craft an ivy pickaxe, shovel or axe, which is important because I skimmed through it and thought I needed to craft all 3, and take 2 settlers with me when adventuring. So I grabbed a boss summon, as I'd have to defeat that eventually, and summoned my mage and farmer to join me in the caves. I equipped them with some potions to heal up and some food. Then I took off to the swamp. Upon entering the caves, I obtained my challenge for having 2 settlers with me. But instead of sending them home, I just figured they could stick around and provide me some protection as I explored. I took to clearing out thorns and obtaining ivy ore until I saw the challenge complete. Now all I had to do was craft an ivy tool. I had plenty of leftover ore already, but I calculated I didn't have enough for all 3, so I thought I needed more. With some more ore mined, I figured before I head back, let's tackle the Swamp Guardian boss. This was an easy fight, and I took it down without too much trouble. A bit of bullet hell, but it was pretty quick fight. A good offense was indeed a good defense. So I crafted myself an ivy pickaxe and to my surprise completed the challenge. I definitely didn't need all 3. Excited, I completed the journal and obtained an infinite leash. This leash allows me to rope as many animals as I want with this singular leash. Excited to get a move on, I went to turn in my quest to the Elder, only to find out that I do indeed need to kill the boss after I take the mission. This meant I had to kill another, so I obtained another boss portal and took to the swamp. This time the fight went less than desirable. Not sure if it was because I was using a different weapon or if it was because I didn't have any settlers, but I escaped with barely any HP. Probably a single hit from dying. Upon returning though, I found the traveling merchant and bought a second potion pouch. Not because I have too many potions, but because I have too many different potions and now I can fit them in my backpack. I also went to start building a chicken pen and noticed the merchant was leaving. So I flew over and quickly hired a chicken and a rooster and then set them free after finishing my pen. I went on to rematch the Swamp Guardian for the quest, and after buffing up, this time the fight went way better and was an easy win. I also handed in my quest and got a waystone and a homestone, allowing me to use these beacons to teleport to each other from anywhere. Next up, we took to the desert to obtain an ostrich pet, find and eat a coconut, and craft a piece of palm furniture. So we're currently in the desert and I'm scouring around for an ostrich or coconut. Upon searching about half of the island, I stumble across a coconut tree and eat one of the coconuts, and then a little bit later on, I find and ambush an ostrich for the inefficient feather. So all that was left is to return to the carpenter's bench and make a piece of palm furniture. As I returned, it was nighttime and I had a blacksmith visiting. I asked if he wanted to join, and he did. I now nearly had one of each settler. I created a palm clock and completed the journal for a tool extender, which could increase my mining range. I returned to the desert again using my new obelisk and entered the desert caves. I was immediately thrown into quicksand, a new mechanic introduced with version 0.30, and the longer I stayed still, the more I sunk. This was a dangerous mechanic, but my broomstick allowed me to fly over it. After finding a safe spot, I had to check what missions I needed to complete. I had to smash 30 vases, equip one of my settlers with full quartz armor, and find a secret caveling oasis. After exploring around and mining or bombing quartz clusters, I found the secret oasis with the cavelings and locked myself in with them. The oasis gave me a glimpse at some deep variant cavelings, and I even got some early life quartz. As I continued exploring and plundering, I eventually finished smashing 30 vases and decided I probably had enough quartz to make a full armor set, so I returned home. I crafted a full quartz armor set and figured that the best person to give it to would be the blacksmith, as it's just the most fitting. I even gave him a glaive for extra security in case we get raided. This completed the adventurer's journal for the desert, and I obtained the alien costume, which to me just looks so awkward and out of place. I waited until morning time, but I set back out to the desert and took down the ancient Vulture boss. It was a longer fight than I expected, but the Vulture has some pretty telegraphed attacks that allow for some good damage. With bird brains down, I handed in my quest to the Elder and got myself an infinite recall potion. This meant I no longer needed recall scrolls unless I was to give them to my settlers, should I choose to take any of them with me. Returning to the Elder, he told me to take down the final pre-deep mode boss, the Pirate Captain. So I flew over to the Pirate Island, and upon entering the island's perimeter, I was told the adventure's journal was updated with some new missions. The Pirate Island came with its own tasks. I had to defeat 5 pirates while sailing in a boat, free the captured stylist, and destroy 5 pirate coin stacks, all relatively easy tasks. I didn't bring a boat with me, and I quickly chopped a few trees whilst being hunted by an armada of pirates, took to sea in my boat and started hurling magic at them until I had defeated 5. As it was becoming nighttime, I didn't have long to complete the tasks, as I wanted a full day to try and defeat the pirate captain. I quickly ran through and broke coin stacks, and as I went to try and free the stylist, I was overwhelmed and had to retreat. I lured them all down and quickly swooped in and saved the damsel in distress, completing the final pirate challenge for the journal, in which I recalled home and claimed my reward, a travel stone. This allowed me to teleport to any island within a 9x9 island radius, which is amazing. I returned to the pirate in the daytime and wanted to win this fight. This fight was by far the hardest fight I had come up against this playthrough. Usually I would box in the captain and fight him one-on-one without his pirate friends interfering, but I wanted the challenge and the authenticity of the fight. I got low on HP a couple of times, but I kept dodging, weaving, and kiting to delay time to heal, and using my blood bolt for homing bullets to get the most consistent damage. After a very long and close fight, he lost to me, and accepted to work for me in my forever home for free. After I'd cleaned up the pirates from the island, I decided to loot the pirate stuff and head home. I completely forgot to check my loot, but it dropped a deep ladder to go deeper in the caves, and a pirate sheath allowing me to use a 6th trinket slot, which I actually forget to use for quite some time. I let the elder know and he rewarded me with a fitting coin pouch for all my hard-earned coins I just looted. His next mission also sounded daunting, and I was told to defeat the Reaper in the deep caves. I placed my deep ladder down and began my descent to the deep caves. Stick around, as next month we will tackle as much as we can of Necesse's hard mode content. This video took a ton of time, and if you've made it this far, like, comment, and subscribe, as next month you'll be in for a treat. As always, have yourselves a happy time zone, so that means good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you may be, and I hope to see you then.